Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And it's the day after Christmas, so hopefully you had a nice holiday. And today we're going to talk about something that has to do with bacteria, which can be good, it can be bad, and we're focusing specifically on gut bacteria, bacteria in your gut or in your belly, your stomach.
Yeah, we've been hearing a lot about this for the last, I would say, decade, more so in the more recent years that have gone by. But yeah, I kind of paid attention to this a long time ago, though, because my brother-in-law loved to tell us about our gut bacteria and how we should eat more yogurt and more spirulina. He would make these awful drinks for us to drink. I never saw that it affected me too much. I don't have a great stomach to begin with, though. But I think it's good advice to make sure you've got really good gut bacteria. A lot of doctors are saying that's where disease starts.
Indeed. And of course, we've got different kinds of pathogens. We've got bacteria, we've got viruses and stuff like that. So when you hear the word bacteria, you probably think, oh, it must be bad, especially if you see a microscopic image of these little creatures and you think, wow, there are millions of them on my body right now, especially in my mouth and around my eyes and stuff like that. So it might freak you out. But we're going to find out today that bacteria can be good and it can be bad. We're focusing specifically on the good bacteria in your gut. And the amount of bacteria seems to be diminishing for some reason. So let's find out what this is all about. Let's read the entire contents of our lesson right now. We often think of bacteria as being bad for us. However, our bodies are actually home to countless bacteria, as well as other tiny organisms, many of which are beneficial. Despite this, new research has discovered that our gut microbiomes, all the microorganisms that live inside us, are not as diverse and healthy as they used to be. Scientists conducted an experiment in which the feces of numerous species of apes and monkeys was collected and analyzed for bacterial DNA. The results were compared with microbiome data from modern human populations. They show that while apes and monkeys had around 85 kinds of bacteria, humans in cities only had around 55. Humans in rural areas had between 60 and 65 kinds. Looking at ancient human microbiomes found in fossils helped the researchers pin down when some of these bacteria started to disappear. Many have vanished relatively recently, and the absence of certain gut bacteria in city-dwelling humans suggests that moving into cities has caused our microbiomes to diminish. There are several possible reasons for this, including antibiotic use, better hygiene, and stress. Stress and anxiety have a negative impact on gut bacteria, and other studies have shown that people suffer from more stress in cities. The loss of these bacteria has been linked to asthma and several other diseases becoming more widespread. While the ultimate goal for scientists is to get these helpful bacteria back into our systems, the first step for the research team is identifying exactly which kinds are missing.
Okay, guys, let's get started here. We're going to learn more about gut bacteria and the new research that's come out showing humans are losing gut bacteria, which is not a good sign. We actually need that bacteria. We often think of bacteria as being bad for us. Yeah, a lot of people think, ooh, germs. If you hear that word bacteria, oh, that's what you connect it with. Now, bacteria is actually the plural form of this word. The singular form is bacterium, but because there are a lot of bacterium, we usually use that word bacteria for the plural form, right? So be careful with that. Bacteria, lots and lots of bacteria. Now, what's our gut? Our gut is another word for stomach or belly. It's where the food goes, and our stomach digests it. So we use gut frequently. We talk about having a gut feeling about something. You know, this this sense inside you that something's right or wrong, or you need to do something. It's kind of like maybe a conscience kind of telling you what to do. But here, of course, it relates to our health. We also say, you don't have any guts, or he's gutless, which means somebody is a coward. And so we actually use this word gut a lot. Here, it just refers to our stomach.
Yep, you might call somebody a gutless punk, who is somebody who's not brave or something like that. That might be a good way to insult somebody. But again, research does show that humans are losing gut bacteria. And again, we often think of bacteria as bad for us. However, our bodies are actually home to countless bacteria, as well as other tiny organisms, many of which are beneficial. So there are lots of bacteria in our bodies, countless bacteria, so many of them that we can't count them. And, of course, some of them are bad, some of them are good. Here it says many of which, many of those numbers or those kinds of bacteria and organisms are beneficial. They're actually good for us. We should not be without them.
Right. So let's take a look at what they say about these little tiny bacteria. Now, despite this, it says new research has discovered that our gut microbiomes, you'll actually hear this word a lot if you listen to English science podcasts or reports. They'll use this word microbiomes. So all the microorganisms that live inside us, that's what a microbiome is. Now, these microbiomes or microorganisms that live inside us are not as diverse and healthy as they used to be. And we need a big range of gut bacteria if we want to stay healthy. What does diverse mean, Tom?
That means there's a lot of variety. Like if you live in a big city, there's a lot of diversity. That's the noun form. Diverse is the adjective form.
Yeah.
The population is diverse. There are lots of different kinds of people living here. Old people, young people, fat, slim, and from different countries and speaking different languages and things like that. But yes, indeed, we do need to have a diverse collection of bacteria in our bodies, and if we have a lower number of them, it could be bad for us. Now, moving on to the next paragraph here, it says, scientists conducted an experiment in which the feces of numerous species of apes and monkeys was collected and analyzed for bacterial DNA. So again, scientists conducted an experiment, and then we have the phrase in which. So basically that means they conducted an experiment, and in that experiment we have the feces or the poop, the dung, the excrement of various species of apes and monkeys. And that feces was collected and then analyzed in the laboratory for bacterial DNA. Remember, apes and monkeys are different. A chimpanzee and a gorilla, well, they are apes, whereas here in the Taiwan miho or whatever, that's a monkey.
Oh, I see.
Monkeys got tails, apes don't.
That's right. So they showed that while apes and monkeys had around 85 kinds of bacteria, that's quite a few, humans in cities only had around 55. I think maybe our diet has changed, or maybe the soil that we're planting crops in these days just isn't as healthy. That's the case too. So humans in rural areas had between 60 and 65 kinds. A few more than those city dwellers who probably eat a lot of processed food, packaged food. If you haven't been to a grocery store in the U.S. for a while, you might be kind of surprised because it's hard to find real food. The real food is only around the outside part of a supermarket, and then everything else is processed. And you have so many choices of processed food. Rural is one of our vocab words. It just means relating to the countryside. It doesn't have anything to do with life in town, which is called urban. Urban, which is the opposite of rural. To live in a rural area is kind of nice because life just moves at a slower pace.
Indeed, like the countryside where I'm from, yes, indeed, life moves at a slower pace there. So again, to summarize, we got the scientists and they collected samples of feces from apes and monkeys and they analyzed it, which means to check it out and make some observations. And then, of course, they made comparisons with modern human populations. And yes, indeed, they showed that while apes and monkeys had around 85 kinds of bacteria, humans in cities, in urban areas, had a lower amount of bacteria, only around 55. And again, if you're from the country, then you probably have more of these bacteria in your bodies, and you're probably going to be healthier than folks who live in Taipei or Taichung or Kaohsiung.
So looking at ancient human microbiomes found in fossils helped the researchers pin down when some of these bacteria started to disappear. Okay, so we've got the word here, fossils. A fossil is the remains of something that lived long, long ago. And sometimes it's in the shape of a rock. So you've got this prehistoric organism that's preserved now because it's in the shape or the form of a rock. It's fun to go out to the riverbed, or we would go in the mountains quite often when I was young with my dad. And if we ever found a fossil, it was really kind of fun. Because, it's kind of cool to think, oh, this little organism lived long, long ago. So that's what a fossil is. And it helped these researchers pin down when some of these bacteria started to disappear. What is pin down, Tom?
Well, that means to find some exact information. So in this particular case, they could actually determine the exact time that these bacteria started to disappear. So they can use, I guess, carbon dating or whatever. They look at the fossils, and that helps them to determine or to pin down the exact number of when these bacteria started to disappear from the face of the earth. Okay, that brings us to the end of the midway point in our article for today. Let's turn things over now to our Chinese teacher.
听众朋友大家好，我是安娜。我们今天要带大家来看一篇克漏字，可是这克漏字的主题真的好特别哦。它讲的是我们的 gut bacteria， 我们的肠道菌诶。我们的肠道菌种真的变少了吗？我们来看一下今天的文章。我们常常都会觉得说，哎呀，这个有细菌啊，很脏啊。没有诶，其实我们自己身上就有很多的好菌在里面。好，当然我们现在就是会有这种尝试啦。假设如果真的没有，我们的文章脉络还是可以告诉你第一题到底要怎么样的选。因为第一段的第一句啊，我们只有讲到说，我们觉得细菌好像对我们不好。但第二句一开始就来个转折 ，however， 然而我们的身体第一格 countless bacteria。无数的细菌，言下之意就是说，然而我们的身体有很多的细菌哦，好像是这个文意，对不对？逗点之后再看看，逗点之后的 as well as， 它是连接词片语，就是以及连同 and 的这个概念。Other tiny organisms， 还有很多其他很小的一些呢，这个有机体。逗点之后的 many of which， 特别小心哦，它是非限定用法补充说明的关系子句，而且很特别的是，我们还看到代名词 many of which， 当然 which 指的就是先行词 other tiny organisms。好，所以根据文意的话，其实我们的身体就有很多的细菌啊。那第一格当然应该选 be home to， 是谁谁谁的家会比较通顺。那虽然是这样啊，身上有很多细菌，但是其实新的研究就发现，我们肠道的那种微生物组啊，也就是所有生活在我们体内的微生物，已经不像以前那么多了。好，同样第一段的这个第三句啊，要特别注意，破折号之后还是带了限定用法关系子句，先行词是 all the microorganisms。后面的关系子句是从 that 到 as 的地方，不过在破折号之后还有一个句型是如同什么样的如何如何，就是一个形容词或副词它的原级比较的句型 as diverse and healthy as they used to be。 第二段告诉我们 科学家就做了一个实验哦，他们收集猿类猴子的粪便，然后分析细菌 DNA。这个结果啊，却发现啊，这个猴子粪便的这个细菌的种类啊，跟现代人的这个微生物的数据来比较啊，发现说猴子猿类的粪便它大概有85种，都市里面的人55种，乡村地区差不多60到65种。我们同样来看一下在第二题的地方，第二题这个介系词的话，就是根据文意，因为在第二段第二句当中，结果是比较这种 microbiome 的 data。谁的 data 呢？从现代人来所谓的比较，所以根据文意上，这些所谓的微生物的资料是从人类去搜集来的，所以第二题选 A 是比较适合。好，那么同样第二段来到第5句的地方，这个第5句呢，我们特别看一下第5句啊，它是在考第3题，也是一个文意上的东西。那第5句到底要讲什么呢？其实它讲的是研究在化石当中发现古代人类微生物组这件事情，是有助于研究人员来确认细菌到底是什么时候开始怎样的。我们从头到尾就在讲说，这个人类的肠道啊，好像越来越少了。我们从数据当中就看到，甚至都市人只剩55种。所以在第5题当中，根据文意应该选 D， 会研究看看到底这些细菌是什么时候开始消失的。不过第5句很特别哦，因为它的主词很长，主词从 looking 一直到 fossils 这个地方，那么动词只有一个字，就是 helped。We're
going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, thank you for that expert explanation. And now we're going to continue with our lesson. Remember, we talked about some experiments or some research that was conducted by scientists. And again, they collected feces samples from various apes and monkeys, and they analyzed them for bacterial DNA. And then they compared the microbiome data with modern humans. And they showed that apes and monkeys had around 85 kinds of bacteria, whereas urban dwellers, humans in cities, had a lower number. They had only 55. But humans in the countryside, in rural areas, had a few more than those who live in the cities, 60 and 65 kinds.
Yeah, that's true. I wanted to go back to this vocabulary phrase here, to pin down.We'll often use it if someone is kind of avoiding making a concrete decision. Maybe you want to schedule something, and the person you want to schedule with goes, maybe Thursday, Friday, morning, afternoon. I'm not sure. If you want to pin the time down, it means you want to make it very clear and concrete.It's a decision that's been made. You want to pin it down. You want to make it so it doesn't change again. Pin something down. We also use it in sports, though, too. If you're a wrestler, sometimes they'll pin people to the mat. They'll pin someone down. If you have brothers and sisters, an older brother or sister might pin you down on the ground and tickle you. So there are different ways to pin people down literally with their bodies to the ground, or here it's more figurative. So they want to confirm or make it very clear when some of these bacteria started to disappear.
Right, a pin is a very sharp little thing used in sewing. So here to pin down something means to be very, very precise and determine the exact time when these bacteria started to disappear. I don't suppose they're going to try to find the exact hour and minutes and split second.
Good luck with that.
But they're going to try to get a ballpark figure, maybe a plus or minus 1,000 years or something like that. And many have vanished relatively recently, and the absence of certain gut bacteria in city-dwelling humans suggests that moving into cities has caused our microbiomes to diminish. Oh no, that's terrible news for me, because I used to live in the countryside and now I've been living in the city for many, many years. My goodness, I probably lost all kinds of gut bacteria. What am I going to do?
Well, if you are on the internet or you watch the news, there are a lot of companies now selling what they consider to be probiotics, good kind of microbiomes that will help your gut health. But it's true that if you're a city dweller, notice here we've got city-dwelling humans. We're describing where these humans live. They dwell in the city. To dwell just means to live somewhere. I used the phrase city dwellers earlier to talk about people who live in the city or who are in an urban area instead of a rural area. So the fact that we're losing some of this good bacteria suggests that moving into cities has caused our microbiomes to diminish. To diminish just means to be reduced in size. So that's not a good thing. We want to keep that healthy gut bacteria and keep disease away from us.
Now, here's the final paragraph for today. It says there are several possible reasons for this. So, of course, you might be wondering, why did this happen? It is important to know this for our health if you want to live a long time and not suffer and things like that. You want to research this, but you also want to know the reason for this. Why has the number of microbiomes in our guts disappeared, or at least diminished? There's still some there, but not as many as before. So what are some of the reasons here? What's the explanation? One explanation includes antibiotic use. Doctors give you antibiotics for various reasons. For a fungal infection, for example, you might get antibiotics. Antibiotic here is being used as an adjective, and that's one possible solution, a possible explanation, I should say. And the other one is better hygiene. Yes, we like things to be clean, but we can't have things too clean because our bodies need to sort of train themselves to fight off disease. And if we live in sterile environments, hey, we may lose the ability to fight disease.
And stress also has an impact. I know that when I was growing up, doctors would caution people not to overuse antibiotics. Because if you do, you're killing the good bacteria and the bad bacteria at the same time. And one day, a big bug might come onto the scene and you can't kill it because your body's just too used to all of our good, antibiotics that have been on the market for a while. So many of these good bacteria have started to disappear. Many have vanished. To vanish means to disappear without a trace, to vanish. And it's happened relatively recently, and the absence of certain gut bacteria in city-dwelling humans suggests that moving into the cities has caused our microbiomes to diminish. So we want to get past this. We know there's some reasons why it's happening. I think stress is a huge reason, too. A lot of people that live in a city work longer hours, are highly stressed, it's noisy, you just can't relax. The loss of these bacteria has been, now notice bacteria, even though it's plural, there's a singular verb that follows because it links back to loss. The loss has been linked. It's not the loss of bacteria. We're not talking about bacteria as the subject, it's the loss. So the loss has been linked to asthma, which I have, and several other diseases becoming more widespread. Widespread means just found in more places. It's been distributed out over a large area or a number of people.
That's right. So, of course, if you have a popular politician, we could say support for the president is widespread. Everybody in the country likes the president and supports the president, and the president will get re-elected. But in this particular case, we're talking about more diseases spreading around. They're getting more common, and so that's bad. And here in the next sentence it says, while the ultimate goal for scientists is to get these helpful bacteria back into our systems, the first step for the research team is identifying exactly which kinds are missing. So basically, while the ultimate goal, or when we consider that the ultimate goal is to get these helpful bacteria back into our systems, when we do that, the first step in doing so is to identify which of those bacteria are missing. So we know that some are missing, but we don't really know which ones. And that is the ultimate goal, the final goal for scientists.
Yeah, ultimate can be used in different ways. Here we're talking about it's the best achievable end that we could actually hope for. But you've probably heard of the game, maybe you haven't, Ultimate Frisbee. It's like the best version of Frisbee ever, the ultimate Frisbee. So this is the ultimate goal, the highest goal that they could hope for is to get these helpful bacteria back into our systems. And you'll notice there are a lot of companies trying to take advantage of this. They want to sell you something, of course. Just check into the background of some of these companies. See if what you're taking is really helping you or perhaps hurting you sometimes. So you need to be careful with that. I would say, Tom, try to eat as much just raw, healthy food as you can. But we know that even then, the soil that we're growing our crops in just isn't as good as it used to be.
Gee, it seems like we just can't win.
No.
But we've got to keep on trying.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to help you do, to learn more about these things so you are aware of them while you're improving your English listening capability at the same time.
True.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Let's turn things over once again to our Chinese teacher.
所以我们发现有很多细菌是在比较接近现代的时候就消失了。城市的居民当中有一些肠道的细菌已经缺乏，就暗示着搬进城市其实就会怎么样，我们的微生物就会减少。第4题，如果我们看到 suggest 搬到城市来居住的人类，然后它会暗示什么呢？暗示就是搬进来住，让我们的肠道的 microbiomes就消失了，它是一个因果的关系，所以第4题答案要选导致。可是你说老师，导致它到底是要选什么样的时态呢？其实这个第4题导致的这个时态因为我们可以从整句话当中来看，整句话当中在第4我们出现剩下来是一个动词的概念，也就是说原本的句子的动词是 suggest， 暗示着什么？后面的 that 是暗示的受词，所以 that 这个连接词就告诉我们后面会有一个完整的句子。Moving into cities 是句子的主词，所以第4题就是一个动词的概念。我们先把 A 跟 D 删掉，剩下的 B should cause 是应该造成，而 C 是一个现在完成式，已经造成，所以在文意上 C 这个动词它是比较通顺的。好，当然为什么会有这样子的原因呢？原因就很多啦，不管说是抗生素的使用，或者是因为我们的卫生条件比较好常常会用一些什么杀菌的东西，还有一个就是压力，因为压力 stress 还有焦虑 anxiety 对肠道的细菌会有负面的影响。所以我们都市嘛，人又多脚步又很快我们的压力比较大，所以有一些细菌不见会跟 asthma 就是气喘还有一些其他特定的疾病会有关系。我们刚刚提到的部分就是在最后这一段第3段第2句的地方，最接近后面其实有一个关系子句的简化，先行词是 several other diseases， 后面简化的关系子句从 becoming 到句尾的地方省略的是 which 或 that 跟 have become。 好，那么接着呢，我们看到最后面的第5咯。第5题也同样也是看单字的部分，所以根据上下文的文意来推测，我们从第5题最后面第4句这边，一开始第一个单字的 while 就是 although 的意思，而第5题因为后面的 which kinds are missing 哪些种类不见了，那就暗示着第5格应该选择 B identifying， 我们才能够知道，才能够辨认出哪些种类不见了。以上是我们今天的内容，我是安娜，我们下次见。
That's it, guys. Thanks for joining us. And we hope that you'll do some checking on your own gut bacteria. Maybe check in with your parents and your grandparents to see how they feel about some of this stuff. It's always good to have a good discussion. For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
I'm Tom. Goodbye.
Bye.